I know you're going to love this conversation. So with that, Sigal, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, and thank you for inviting me for this session. I'm very excited about our topic of conversation. As you know, I've been in technology for many, many years, mainly in financial services, but also in other industries. And I think that the conversation we have planned for today is going to be really interesting.
Awesome. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to throw something at you that I think has come to be a large belief of mine, and that is this: digital, and we talk about digital transformation all the time. Digital is easy, transformation is hard. Let me have you react to that. Do you resonate with that? Do you disagree with that?
No, I do resonate with that. I used to say implementing technology is easy, but transforming the organization to leverage the technology, to adopt it, to get the most out of the technology is hard because transformation is art, right? You're trying to change how people work, how they behave, how they interact with each other. If it's your clients and your customers, or it's internally to the organization. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of tenacity.
So let's pick up both halves of the equation quickly. I think you talked about digital and you agreed with me that digital is easy. And I think one of the things that you and I have often talked about and shared in the past conversations is all of the composable services that are now coming through on hyperscalers and cloud platforms. And you've been involved in a cloud journey for many, many years now. Talk to us a little bit about how that's getting easier, how new tools are coming through, and how that's making the technology part of the job a lot more easier, if you will.
Yeah, that's a really exciting opportunity for us to really transform and modernize um, a lot of ways of how we develop code, how we implement that code into production, and how our customers are even leveraging, if it's internal or external, leveraging the solutions that we create. So, in the past few years, the whole cloud offering has matured so much. If you're thinking about observability on the CI/CD pipeline, if you're thinking about what can you put in the cloud in a secure way, and how all of this automation is helping the developers to be able to not just provision hardware faster, but actually develop and deploy code faster. And we've seen that. And there are many, many companies that creating those tools that you can orchestrate together that really automate the whole SDLC, if you will. And while doing that, I think the exciting thing about it is not just shorter time to market, but also the whole shift left around what developers can really do and the power that they have. Cloud service providers today have so many services that are enabling you to really be empowered as a developer. So it's not like you need to rely on others, and that's exciting.
Fantastic developments and acceleration of technology. I think you talked about some of these building blocks that are being abstracted to the next level. It's a lot simpler now. Instead of writing code from the ground up, I think more of the work we need to do is around orchestrating these building blocks, these Lego blocks, these composable services into composite functionality. You can get it done faster in a much more agile fashion, and you can bring in the innovation from the ecosystem. And so in a nutshell, I think you've just ended up explaining why digital is easy or getting easier by the day. So then let's shift to the other side. Transformation is hard. And you talked a little bit about people and process and change of mindset, but let's kind of double click into that a little bit more. And then from your vantage point, you're driving global transformation for Morgan Stanley, one of the most notable firms in the financial services area. What are some of the learnings that you can share with us on transformation?
Yeah, so I would say that my learnings are not just about Morgan Stanley. There's also from prior experiences that I have. And I think the one thing that I've seen working out successfully is when you have leadership commitment to change, the commitment to not just change for change's sake, but continuous improvement. We've seen just over the last year, right, how companies have to be agile and resilient, flexible and stable all at the same time. And I think that's what transformation should drive, the ability for companies to be successful under any market condition and to change and flex how they provide their services under any market conditions. So that means that transformation has to be led from the top, but it also needs to be incorporated and adopted by people in the organization. And that goes to change of mind, training, getting to people at the level of what's in it for them. Because if you don't show them the why and the importance of making a shift in the way they work or stop something they're doing and doesn't need it anymore, people don't buy in. And for it to be successful, you need people to buy in.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a double-headed journey. There's a top-down component about getting the leadership behind it, because change is hard and it's difficult. You need to be bought into the vision, but there's just as much a component of getting a bottoms-up journey, which is driving it into the cultural DNA of the organization. I think it's a very, very good balance between the two.
Yeah, and the changes over the last year, right, proved us that we can change. We can change overnight. We can move people to work from home overnight, and that requires some digital changes and technology changes, right? So I think a lot of companies are trying to figure out in all industries on how they can provide that balance for their customers and employees around agility and stability.
One of the things that I think becomes really critical for the technology team and the digital teams in large corporations now is to actually be very strong on the technical domain, but actually equally understand the business at the right level of understanding that allows you to converge the two, that brings the two together. And you talked about driving change in the hearts and minds of people, but fundamental to that is actually reimagining what the new process needs to look like or the new value chain needs to look like and being able to design that. And so this bridge, this convergence, this intersection of process and technology knowledge and understanding the business becomes so critical. What are your thoughts on all of that? And what are best ways to think about this for our folks in the audience?
Yeah, you reminded me while you're saying that is the advancements of tools that we have today that we haven't had 20 years ago. Tools around process mapping, tools around process mining, tools around process automation, the whole RPA and citizen automation, right? So I think it all comes down to the basic premise that companies want to provide the best services they can for their customers in order to grow. They need to be efficient and effective in their processes in order to provide value to shareholders. And therefore, you need to continuously improve your processes and your offerings. And to do that, today there are tools in the market that will help you do that. And there are companies that help you really do the process mining, understand how the process is mapped, where are the choke points, how should you automate, and empower the people in the organization to do that automation themselves or in conjunction with their technology partners. So absolutely, the tools have improved, but the basic premise of continuous improvement is still critical.
I think you're right. I think you talked about the toolkits, and I think just to broaden that, you're talking about the ability to actually automatically mine the processes flowing through the organization in the back of IT systems, be able to pull all that information together and be able to explore that to figure out what's working, what's not, and then out of that, figure out ways to make it more efficient. And as you figure that out, then bringing in the automation in the back end to drive that.
Right, exactly. And think about data lineage, how the data is flowing from front office systems to middle office to back office, because there is a supply chain of applications, right? And as we know, we keep collecting more and more data, but how the lineage of that data and the taxonomy of the data and how is that flowing through the organization is very critical. And those tools are very helpful in that.
And you've just, by the way, touched on another really key point that I think we see in the industry, which is data, right? And for most large corporations now, by the time someone actually looks at a piece of data, it's been ingested, normalized, harmonized, derived, transformed about 62 times already. And so one of the questions that comes up is, I can see the number, but do I believe it? And so this bit about trust and your point about lineage and governance and the provenance of the data is such an important point. So I think you brought that up. So you brought up automation and the new toolkits that are becoming available. You brought up the idea of data and why that's so central. But I think in the way you described it, you actually brought up a third concept, and it's the notion of experience. And in the end, what is the experience you're delivering through the process? Where does that sit in your mind? And talk to us a little bit about the role of experience.
Yeah, I started studying industrial engineering before I moved into computer science. And in industrial engineering, you study a lot about the experience, right? That's where you start from. How do you design products that have the right experience? And we've seen over the years how the consumer behaviors have been influencing the experience and what they are demanding. So it's very critical to understand what your customers really want and how do you provide the best experience for them. And it should be driving our decisions on where we spend our funds, where we spend our resources. So experience is key, and the one thing I will say about data, it might be a good topic for another conversation because it's very loaded.
We'll for sure come back to that. Sigal, you've talked about so many aspects of digital around data, around process automation, process mining, orchestration. You've talked about experience and the toolkits that are coming available. And I think as we started the discussion, the whole focus is how do you now bring that to play to transform effectively, to get the change driven. Any last thoughts you want to share with us on transformation before we let you go? And we'll pick up data separately.
Yeah, Sanjay, I see so many new ideas and so much innovation coming up on the technology side, and it's keep improving. Those building blocks that we talked about, those orchestration components are continuing to improve, and new ones are coming to market. So what I would say is always look out for what's next. We need to keep up with technology. We need to modernize our legacy to be a competitive organization. Every organization has that issue, and I think it's exciting. I'm very passionate about what the new technologies are looking like, and I think it's really exciting to transform with those new technologies because it's amazing.
Fantastic. Look out for new capabilities. Stay sharp on transformation. It's a big imperative. Sigal, you said it beautifully. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And I really appreciate you joining us today.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.